Valentine's Day was not the problem. The problem was what he did before Valentine's Day. If you watch this story to the end, you will understand why some love stories should never be envied.
This is a circle of African tales where African wisdom lives, and every story has a lesson.
Valentine's Day didn't arrive quietly at Crestview Academy. It never did. By the first week of February, the hallways were already loud with it. Pink flyers taped to lockers, heart-shaped cutouts hanging from classroom doors, and group chats buzzing with the same question dressed up 100 different ways. Who was going to ask who, how, where, in front of how many people? At the center of it all was Nathan Brooks. Nathan didn't ask for the attention, but he wore it easily. Tall, calm, the kind of confidence that didn't need proving. Teachers trusted him. Students admired him. Even people who pretended not to care still watched him when he passed. He moved through school like someone who knew he belonged there. By Tuesday, the rumor was everywhere. Nathan was planning a Valentine ask. Not a small one, not private, something big, something public. No one knew who it was for, but that didn't stop the guessing. In one corner of the school's social world was Maya Collins, sitting with her friends at lunch, pretending not to reread the same message for the 5th time. Nathan hadn't said anything outright, but the signs felt obvious to her. The way he smiled when she talked, the way he lingered after class, the way he brushed off other girls when Maya was around. She told herself not to assume, but assumptions have a way of sounding like hope when you repeat them enough. Across campus, near the library steps, Zuri Bennett stood talking quietly with Nathan, their voices low, their laughter contained. No audience, no performance. Their connection wasn't loud enough to attract attention, but it was steady, real. They didn't text constantly, didn't post each other, didn't need witnesses. Sometimes the quietest bonds felt the strongest. And then there was Sky Robinson, who noticed none of it. Sky didn't sit around waiting for signs. She didn't watch Nathan from across the room or decode his tone. She had her own world, friends, plans, confidence that didn't need validation. If Nathan looked her way, she didn't catch it. If people whispered her name when he walked past, she didn't hear them. That was what made her dangerous to this story. None of the girls were friends. None of them compared notes. Their lives ran parallel, never intersecting, each carrying a different version of the same anticipation. Behind the scenes, the pressure built. It started as a joke in the locker room, Nathan's friends leaning against metal doors, grinning like they already knew the ending. "You're really not going to do anything for Valentine's?" Jordan asked. "Come on, everyone's waiting." Nathan shrugged. "I didn't say that." "So do something legendary," another voice chimed in. "Ask the most untouchable girl in school. Make it unforgettable." Nathan laughed it off at first. "You are bored." But the idea lingered longer than he expected. Not because he wanted to impress anyone, but because attention had a way of making choices feel lighter than they were, like nothing really counted as long as it was fun. Meanwhile, the school made it official. A student-organized Valentine party would be held Friday night in the gym. Lights, music, decorations, a stage, a public place for private moments. Everyone knew something would happen there. Maya spent the next few days floating between excitement and anxiety. Nathan still texted, still smiled, still asked how her day was, but something had shifted, small enough to ignore if you wanted to. She told herself she was overthinking. People got busy. Feelings didn't always look dramatic. Zuri noticed the shift too. She didn't panic, she didn't accuse, she paid attention. Nathan still showed up, still talked, still cared, but there was hesitation now, like someone standing with one foot already turned away. She didn't ask him about Valentine's. She didn't need to. Sometimes answers came without questions. Sky remained untouched by it all. She focused on classes, laughed with friends, walked through hallways like nothing was waiting to happen. If anyone asked her about Nathan, she shrugged. "He's cool," she'd say, and mean nothing more than that. Thursday night arrived quietly. Zuri was supposed to be studying at home when she saw the photo. Same restaurant. Nathan had said he wasn't going to. Same booth he'd once joked about hating. The lighting was dim, the angle imperfect, but unmistakable. Nathan, leaning in, his hand on someone's wrist, his mouth close to someone else's smile. Maya. The moment landed without drama. No tears, no shaking hands, no urge to call him. Zuri stared at the screen longer than she expected, then locked her phone. Everything rearranged itself in her mind. It wasn't the kiss that hurt most, it was the timing, the planning, the way he'd spoken to her earlier that day, like nothing was wrong, like he was already somewhere else. She didn't cry, she didn't confront him, she went silent. By morning, the school buzzed louder than ever. Posters fluttered, the party countdown hit 24 hours, people speculated, people smiled. Nathan noticed the silence too late to understand it. Valentine's Day was coming, and nothing was as light as it looked.
Zuri didn't block Nathan. She didn't mute him either. She simply stopped answering. No anger in her replies, because there were no replies. No explanations. No long messages drafted and deleted. Just distance. Clean, quiet, intentional. At first, Nathan thought it was nothing. People had moods. Zuri especially wasn't dramatic. If she needed space, she took it. He sent a message that morning anyway. You good? It stayed unread. By lunchtime, he noticed her across the courtyard, laughing with someone else, her phone face down on the table. Not avoiding him, not performing, just absent. He told himself she was busy. By the end of the day, the silence had weight. At school, the rumors grew louder, as rumors always did when people were bored and Valentine's Day was near. Someone noticed Zuri wasn't around Nathan anymore. Someone else noticed she didn't sit where she used to. A theory formed quickly, as they always do. She's playing hard to get. She's probably mad over nothing. She wants him to chase. Nobody considered the possibility that silence could be protection, not strategy. Zuri moved through the halls differently now. Not withdrawn, not broken, just precise. She kept her routines, she answered teachers, she smiled when spoken to. But when Nathan passed by, she didn't look for his reaction. She didn't look at all. Behind the quiet, something heavier was settling. It wasn't the kiss itself that replayed in her mind anymore. It was everything around it. The timing, the conversations earlier that day, the way he'd listened to her talk about stress and smiled like he was present when his evening had already been planned. She realized something uncomfortable. She hadn't been lied to aggressively. She'd been handled gently, kept close enough to stay available, treated well enough not to question, left uninformed, not because he meant harm, but because he didn't want discomfort. Carelessness hurt differently than cruelty. Across campus, Maya was glowing. She didn't know she'd been seen. She only knew what the kiss felt like to her. Confirmation. Relief. Proof that the waiting had meant something. Nathan hadn't said much afterward, but he didn't pull away either. He texted her that night, asked how she got home, checked in the next morning. To Maya, it felt like progress. She noticed Zuri's distance too, but it barely registered. People drifted. People had their own lives. Maya was focused on one thing, the Valentine party. The rumor suddenly made sense now. Maybe the big ask was real. Maybe it was for her. She let herself imagine it. The lights, the music, his voice saying her name. She didn't know she was standing in the middle of something unfinished. Nathan, meanwhile, felt the pressure closing in from every direction. His friends wouldn't let the idea rest. So what's the plan? Jordan asked him between classes. You doing it or not? Nathan exhaled. It's not a plan. That's not a no. The bet hovered between them, unspoken but present. He'd never officially agreed, never shook on it, but he also never shut it down. Attention had a way of blurring responsibility. People expected something from him now, not because he promised it, but because he let them believe it. He tried Zuri again that evening. Did I do something? No response. That was when unease crept in. Not guilt, not yet. Just the sense that something important was slipping without making noise. At school the next day, the Valentine party announcement went public. Flyers replaced flyers. The gym buzzed with planning. People practiced entrances in their heads. Maya overheard someone say, "It's definitely happening there." Her heart skipped. Zuri heard it too. She felt nothing. The silence had already done its work. Nathan drafted a message that night, longer this time. Something honest, he told himself. Something to reset things. He stared at the screen, reread it, changed a word, changed it back, then he sent it, not realizing he'd waited too long. The message landed just as the school account posted the final party details. Notifications stacked on Zuri's phone all at once. Decorations, countdowns, excitement, and then Nathan's name. She read his message once, didn't reply. The timing twisted the knife deeper than the words ever could. Because now, whatever he planned to say, whatever he thought he could fix, was arriving in the middle of a moment that was already moving forward without her consent. Valentine's Day was no longer a question. It was a collision waiting to happen.
The gym didn't look like a school anymore. Lights were dimmed low. Strings of soft pink and red bulbs draped across the ceiling. Heart-shaped cutouts lined the walls. Someone had brought a fog machine. Music pulsed, not loud enough to drown conversation, just enough to make everything feel cinematic. Phones were already up. Everyone knew why they were there. Nathan Brooks stood near the edge of the crowd, jacket fitted, posture relaxed in a way that looked natural but had been practiced in his mirror more than once. His friends hovered nearby, pretending not to stare at him, while very clearly staring at him. "This is it," someone whispered. Nathan smiled, that familiar, easy smile, the one people trusted, the one that made teachers overlook things and students lean closer. He scanned the room. Maya was near the front, excitement written all over her face. She kept smoothing her hair, glancing at her friends, pretending not to look at him every few seconds. Sky stood further back, arms crossed loosely, expression unreadable. She wasn't nervous, she wasn't hopeful, she was simply watching. And then there was Zuri. She stood off to the side, near the exit, calm, still, dressed beautifully, but not like she was trying to be seen. Her phone was in her hand, screen dark. Nathan's eyes found her instinctively. Good, this was how it was supposed to go. The DJ lowered the volume. A hush spread like a ripple through water. Phones rose higher. Someone shushed someone else. Nathan stepped forward. He didn't hesitate. That was the part everyone admired about him. The confidence. The way he looked like he belonged at the center of things. He took the mic. A few cheers broke out. "Okay," he said, laughing lightly, like this wasn't a big deal, like he wasn't about to shape the next few weeks of school gossip. "I didn't really plan a speech, so..." Laughter. Zuri didn't move. He continued. "Valentine's Day is supposed to be about being brave, right? Saying things you usually don't say." His eyes stayed on her. Some people noticed. Others followed his gaze. The room subtly shifted. Zuri felt it. The attention settling. The expectation forming. She didn't flinch. She didn't smile. She simply looked back at him, steady and unreadable. Nathan held out his hand slightly, just enough to invite, not enough to beg. For half a second, the entire gym waited for her to step forward. She didn't. The pause stretched. Whispers began. "Isn't that who he's asking? Why isn't she moving?" Maya's smile faltered. Nathan's confidence cracked, not visibly, but internally. He laughed again, trying to smooth it over. "Zuri," he said gently, like this was still their private language. "Come here." She tilted her head, just slightly. Then she looked past him, straight at Maya. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It was knowing. Maya's stomach dropped. Her eyes followed Zuri's gaze, then snapped back to Nathan, confusion flashing across her face. Something about the moment felt wrong now. Off script. A memory surfaced. How careful he'd been. How often he'd said, "We'll talk later." How rarely he let her post anything. Someone in the crowd murmured, "Wait." Another voice whispered, "Didn't he?"
The truth didn't explode, it leaked. A look passed between Zuri and Maya, brief but devastating. Maya understood it instantly, not through words, but through context, through realization. She hadn't been chosen, she'd been convenient. Her breath caught. She stepped back instinctively, shaking her head, not at Zuri, but at Nathan. "You told me," she started, then stopped herself. Too many people. Too many phones. Nathan finally saw it then, the way people were watching him now, not admiring, but calculating, replaying moments in their heads, connecting dots. Zuri hadn't raised her voice, hadn't accused him, hadn't exposed anything. She didn't have to. Her silence had done the work. Nathan lowered the mic slowly. The DJ didn't know what to do. The music didn't come back on. The moment hung there, awkward and heavy. Sky watched from the back, eyes sharp. She'd seen enough. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply turned away. Maya pushed through the crowd, cheeks burning, humiliation washing over her in waves, not because she'd been rejected, but because she believed she was special. Nathan called after her once, softly. She didn't turn. Zuri finally moved, not toward him, past him. She walked calmly toward the exit, heels steady against the gym floor. A few people parted automatically to let her through. No one stopped her. Nathan stood there, hand still half raised, mic forgotten. The party didn't end with shouting or tears. It ended with discomfort. Phones lowered slowly. Conversations resumed, now quieter, edged with judgment. The story had already been written, and not in his favor. Later that night, Nathan sat alone on his bed, phone in his hand, no new messages, no one to explain himself to who hadn't already seen enough. For the first time, the weight of it settled fully. He hadn't lost one girl, he had lost trust, and trust didn't ask for grand gestures. It left quietly.
The Monday after the party felt quieter than usual. Not because the school halls were empty, but because something had shifted. People still laughed, teachers still yelled about late homework, bells still rang, but every conversation carried an unspoken footnote, a memory, a recalculation. Nathan Brooks felt it the moment he walked through the gate. Eyes followed him, not with admiration this time, but with curiosity. Not hatred, not cruelty, just awareness. He kept his head up anyway. That was the first thing he decided to do differently. At his locker, his friends hovered less closely than before. The jokes were shorter. The teasing stopped. The bets, never spoken out loud, sat between them like a cracked glass no one wanted to touch. "You good?" one of them asked, half-hearted. Nathan nodded, "Yeah?" It wasn't a lie. It wasn't the truth either. Across the hall, Zuri Bennett walked past him without looking. She didn't rush, she didn't slow down. She simply existed in a space where he no longer mattered. That hurt more than shouting would have. He thought about stopping her, saying something, explaining. But every version of that conversation felt selfish, like trying to reopen a door she had calmly shut. So he didn't. In the cafeteria, Maya Collins sat with different people now. Not hiding, but repositioned. Her laughter sounded forced at first, then steadier as days passed. Nathan approached her table during lunch carefully. "Maya," he said quietly. She looked up. Her expression was composed, but her eyes were guarded. "What?" she asked, not cold, just tired. "I owe you an apology." She studied him for a long moment. "You owe me honesty," she replied. "But I don't think you have anything new to say." "I do," he said. "I should have ended things before they blurred. I liked the attention. I didn't want to choose, so I let things overlap. That wasn't fair." She exhaled slowly. "I wanted it to mean something," she said. "Not publicly, just genuinely." "I know," Nathan replied, "and I'm sorry I didn't give you that." She nodded once. "Okay." That was it. No forgiveness, no dramatic closure, just an ending that didn't give him relief. He walked away feeling lighter and emptier. Later that afternoon, Sky Robinson cornered him near the lockers. "You good?" she asked bluntly. He laughed weakly. "That seems to be the question of the week." Sky crossed her arms. "You knew what you were doing, but you also didn't know what it would cost." "That obvious?" "Yes," she said. "But here's the thing. You are not a villain. You're just careless. And careless people still hurt others." Nathan nodded. "I don't want to be that person." "Then don't," Sky replied. "But don't expect things to go back to normal either." She walked off before he could respond. By Friday, Valentine's Day arrived quietly. No big posters, no crowd buzzing about one dramatic moment. Just balloons taped to doors and teachers wearing red. Zuri spent the day focused on herself. She sat in class, took notes, answered questions. She laughed with friends she trusted. She didn't avoid Nathan, but she didn't engage either. That distance wasn't punishment, it was protection. Nathan watched her from across the room once, then looked away. He finally understood something that had taken him too long to learn. Feelings weren't enough. Intentions weren't enough. Being liked wasn't the same as being trustworthy. That afternoon, as students filtered out of the building, Valentine's Day ended not with confessions, but with clarity. No one was celebrating the way they planned, but everyone was learning something they needed.
2 weeks after Valentine's Day, the school stopped talking about it. That was how Nathan knew it was really over. No more whispers in corridors. No more replayed videos. No more "did you hear" moments. The story had run its course in public. What remained was private and heavier. Nathan Brooks didn't change overnight. There was no dramatic transformation, no speeches, no sudden popularity drop or redemption arc that made people clap for him. What changed was quieter. He stopped performing. He stopped checking who was watching when he spoke. Stopped crafting moments for reactions. Stopped letting his friends' expectations decide his moves. When his phone buzzed, he answered when he meant it. When he didn't know what to say, he stayed silent instead of filling the space with charm. For the first time, he was learning how to sit with discomfort. Zuri Bennett noticed it before anyone else. Not because she was looking, but because people who change honestly don't announce it. They simply stop repeating the same mistakes. She saw it in the way he didn't rush to explain himself anymore, in how he didn't approach her with rehearsed apologies, in how he let her exist without pressure. That space mattered. Zuri had spent the days after the party doing something she hadn't done in a long time, choosing herself without needing to justify it. She cut off conversations that drained her. She leaned into friendships that didn't demand explanations. She stopped replaying the kiss in her mind, not because it didn't hurt, but because it no longer defined her. Silence hadn't been a weapon. It had been a boundary. Maya Collins felt her own clarity settle in slower, but deeper. She didn't spiral. She didn't compete. She didn't ask what she could have done differently. She let herself grieve the version of the story she'd imagined, and then she let it go. When Nathan apologized, she accepted the truth, but not the relationship. That decision gave her a peace she hadn't expected. Not closure, not satisfaction, just honesty. She started sitting with people who made her laugh without trying. She redirected her energy toward things that had nothing to do with being chosen. The attention she lost didn't feel like loss anymore. It felt like freedom. Sky Robinson watched all of this from the outside and smiled quietly. She'd been misunderstood before. Labeled dramatic when she was just perceptive. Loud when she was just unwilling to shrink. This time, she didn't need to say, "I told you so." She saw Nathan grow not into someone perfect, but into someone accountable. And that mattered more. She saw Zuri stand firm without bitterness. She saw Maya walk away without resentment. And she learned something herself too, that watching doesn't mean waiting. Sometimes it just means witnessing growth. By the 3rd week after Valentine's Day, something unexpected happened. Nathan and Zuri found themselves sitting near each other during a group project meeting. Not alone, not intentional, just circumstance. They walked quietly at first, passing notes, sharing ideas, no tension, no nostalgia. At the end of the meeting, Nathan spoke. "I don't expect anything from you," he said simply, "but I want you to know I see what I did now, not just how it looked, how it felt." Zuri looked at him. This time, she didn't feel defensive. "I know, and I see that you're not trying to fix it for applause." He nodded. "I don't want to fix it. I just don't want to repeat it." She considered that. "Growth doesn't mean access," she said cautiously. "It means respect." "I understand," he replied. And for the first time, that wasn't painful. Weeks later, a connection rebuilt. Not loudly, not publicly. Slower, cleaner. No bets, no spectators, no urgency to define it. Just honesty, shared cautiously. Maya's story ended differently, permanently. She didn't revisit the past. She didn't seek explanations she already had. She moved forward with a clarity that stayed with her longer than any Valentine gesture. Sky's lesson lingered deepest. She learned that sometimes the role you play in a story isn't to be chosen, but to see clearly and leave unchanged. By the time spring arrived, Valentine's Day felt distant, but its meaning hadn't faded, not for them. Because love, they realized, wasn't proven by public gestures, not by parties, not by questions asked on a stage. It was proven by honesty when no one was watching, by restraint, by accountability, by knowing when silence protects and when truth heals. And somewhere between the noise and the quiet, all of them grew, not into a fairy tale, but into themselves. Before the story truly ends, one question lingers for you. Was silence stronger than confrontation? Should intentions matter more than actions? And can feelings ever excuse careless choices? Tell me what you think.
Every story carries a lesson, and if this one touched you in any way, let it guide your heart and inspire your journey. I hope you enjoyed this African folktale. If you did, please subscribe to this channel for more amazing, life-changing stories. Don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment. And if you want more, the next story is already waiting for you on your screen. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. See you in the next video.